Right, 6 years. What I'm going to do today is the main part of cash flow statements. Now, this is not difficult. The part that is a little bit hard for you is this is a format that only comes up in this particular question. It's not like, I remember Farrell, you were saying, oh, the balance sheet, many times we're going to have to do a balance sheet because it comes up in nearly every single question. The problem with this question, which some students think it's difficult, this is a cash flow statement. It has to be written exactly as it is. There's no leeway with it, there's no shorthand with it. So this is everything that could go into your cash flow statement. Now, I'm going to go through this. You can stop this now if you want for a minute, stop the recording and take it down. But I want to explain some of the things for you. Now, underneath your files under cash flow statements, I put in an example of this. I put in an example of your reconciliation. I put in an example of your reconciliation, of net debt and your bridge profit and loss. Now, I might do an online class just to show you all of them as well. So, in the exam, these headings here, believe it or not, will get you about 10% of the question. So for knowing your headings off by heart, you're going to get 10%. Now what I want you to do every single day you're doing accountancy, I want you to practice writing them out without the notes. Now I'm going to go through them and explain what they are. First of all, you've operating activities. Now remember, we're trying to find out your cash flow. We're trying to find out if your cash increased or decreased this year. So this is the answer that you got from part A. So you would either have the word you've had an inflow or outflow from your operating activities, from your profit and loss. So you have a net cash inflow or outflow from operating activities. The next thing is, if you think of your profit and loss account, after your operating profit, what comes next? We'd always put in your debenture interest and we'd put in your investment income, okay? So they're the next step, right? We're going to see, did you receive investment income or did you pay debenture interest? And that comes under the heading, what return did you get on your investment, which would be in your investment income, and what was your servicing of your finance? So servicing of your finance is paying your interest on it. So you'll have interest received, which would be your investment income, and you'll have interest paid, which is your debenture interest. Now you might have dividends received in some questions. Okay, so again, if you think of your profit and loss, you have your operating profit. After that, you have your interest paid and your investment income. After that, you have your taxation. So the next heading is taxation. So it's tax paid. Okay, I'm just trying to give you something to help you with these. Now, after your tax paid in the exam, the next thing is you would have dividends. Now, this is the only thing that doesn't follow in sequence. Your dividends is just drops down here. Okay, so you have equity dividends paid. Equity, we know we're talking about only ordinary shareholders' dividends. So you have ordinary dividends paid. Okay, so just go back on this. You have your operating profit. Then you have your investment income and you have your debenture interest, which is interest paid. Then after that you have your tax. Then after that you have your dividends. So that helps you to kind of remember where things come. Now again, you're talking about cash flowing in and out of the business. So the next thing that we're going to put, this part here goes in between these two. Did you spend any money on buying a fixed asset or did you spend any money on buying investments? So the heading is capital expenditure and financial investment. So you're looking, did you purchase or sell a fixed asset or did you purchase or sell investments? So did you get receipts from the sale of a fixed asset? Did you get receipts from the sale of investments? Or did you have a payment to acquire investments or a payment to acquire a fixed asset? Now again, I'm trying to put in everything that you could have here. So you're probably only going to have one or maybe two of these in an exam. Right, after this, when you get to here, you have to do a total. And this is your net cash. Again, it could be an inflow or outflow before your liquid resources and financing. So you have two more headings to do. You have to talk about your liquid resources. So your management of liquid resources is, what did you buy or sell any liquid resources? And the last one is, if you think of your balance sheet, what's the last part in your balance sheet? It's financing. And in the financing part, I want to know, did you change your share capital? Did you change your debentures and your share premium? So it's the last few things in your balance sheet. It's under finance by, so that's why it's financing. Did you issue or redeem debentures? Did you issue shares? And if you issued shares, did you make a share premium? And then the final answer is, did you increase or decrease your cash? Now, what I think is a good idea is go back and what I've talked about again, go back and listen to me, put on your headphones even if you're going for a walk, and listen to me explain those to you again. Now, like with all of those, we have one working for this. Sorry, looks bad, profit and loss. Okay, so your working is, I'm going to get you to look at your taxation, your dividends, and your interest. I want you to get the figures from the balance sheet at the start, and I want you to get the figures from the balance sheet at the end. So if I look at my balance sheet here, and I'm looking at interest, tax, and dividends. Now, in this particular question, there's no dividends in the balance sheet, so I have 0 and 0. But I've put them in because it can appear as an adjustment. In taxation, at the start of the year, you owed 63,000. At the end, you owed 42, and likewise with your interest. Then from your profit and loss, I want you to put in everything that you should have paid this year from your profit and loss. So you go back to your profit and loss, and your interest, you should pay 20,000 this year. Your dividends, you're meant to pay 50. Now this is a working, so it doesn't have to be in this order. And your taxation is 34, sorry. Taxation is 34 and interest is 20. Let's make sure I have all of them right. Okay, so at the start of the year, you owed 63,000 in tax. Then you're meant to pay 34,000 this year. So if you finalised your tax bill, you should have paid 97,000, and that would leave you with 0 here. But there's 42,900 left. So that means, what did you pay? You have 63,000 plus 34,000 is 97,000, but you have 42,900 left, which means you only paid 54,100 this year in tax. Okay, let's look at your dividends. You're meant to pay 50,000. You don't owe anything at the end, so you obviously paid 50,000. The same with your interest. You owe 8, you're meant to pay 20 this year. So if you have 0 left, it means you paid 28, but you have 5,000 left, which means you only paid 23,000. Okay, now if you look at that, we can go straight over here and fill these in. Tax paid was 54,900. And that's money going out, so the negative figure. Dividends paid was 50. And interest paid was 23. Okay, now I'm just going to get the figure from part A, which you had already did. The net cash inflow from operating activities was 14,900. Now I want you to go back to your working on your fixed assets, and I want to see in your workings on your fixed assets, did you get any receipts from the sale of fixed assets, and did you pay any money for fixed assets? Now if you looked at the question, your working in particular, I think it was your buildings went up, so you had payments to acquire fixed assets of 154,000 you spent, and then in your adjustment on your equipment, it said that you got 21,000 from the receipt of equipment. So you made 21,000 and you spent 154,000. So in total here, that's 133,000 being spent in total. Okay with all of that? And again, these are not in this question. So generally you'll only have one thing in the question. So when you get down to here, you need to total all of this. Now I'll just cheat and take the answer here. So you spent 245,200. Okay. There's no liquid resources in this question. So I'm going to put it, you'll see it, I'll show you an example of when it comes in. So let's look at our balance sheet and let's look at our debentures. Our debentures went from 140 to 250. So you increased your loan by 110,000. That means if you got a loan, that means you got money. So an issue, I won't use the word redemption, so cross that out. And that's a good thing for your cash. So you've got a cash inflow of 110,000. Right, so let's look at, did you get any money from selling shares? You got 70,000 from selling shares. And when you sold those shares, your premium went up by 12,000. So if we add these up, you have 192,000 you got in cash. So the difference in your cash there is 53,200, your cash went down by. And again, I will say not an increase here, I say a decrease of cash, 53,200. And believe it or not, that's the question done. Okay, and you're going to be practicing that then for me.